cults, period drinks, pube pies, and toxic relationships. These are the things that make up the next movie that me and my guests are going to talk about. Join me as I talk with my favorite collaborators slash guests, Dimi Horror of Black Girls Love Horror, and Meaganzworld as we discuss, dissect, and interpret Midsommar on today's episode of Let's Talk About Horror. Welcome guys, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About Horror. It's your boy Walter Doom, where we talk about all things horror, and we are back. The trio is back. Gang, gang, gang. So my first guest, as you guys know her, she is the representative of Black Girls Love Horror. She's been on here many times, and we always have such a good time and fun conversation.
Yes.
I like to say, welcome, Dimi. Welcome, Dimi Horror.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, especially with the gang, the super team, the Black Avengers up here.
Yeah. And my next guest, she was in another one of my episodes. This is her second time being here. She usually blogs a lot on Instagram about different films and everything. And she actually couldn't wait to talk about our favorite topic today, Midsommar. Let's welcome Meaganzworld to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm super excited for this conversation because I've been wanting to talk about Midsommar for quite a minute now.
Yeah. And I was excited to talk about it with you when you hit me up talking about, let's talk about Midsommar. I sat there and just went big-eyed and was like, really now? Okay, let's go ahead and talk about Midsommar. I can't wait for this topic. I can't wait to lose some subscribers, you know?
Hey, you know,
and I can't wait to gain some, so there we
go. Seriously? You're definitely probably going to gain some after this. Did y'all hear about how, like, some of the movie theaters are opening up again? Like, AMC supposedly opened up, like, around the 20th. I don't know if they really did or not. I haven't read up on it. But they were supposed to open up again. And everything is pretty much working like usual. They're supposed to be bringing in New Mutants and Tenet, which has been the two movies that are being really pushed to theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
Are any of you? Oh no, you're fine. Are any of you planning on going to the movie theaters anytime soon?
No, I'm not. No, it's not even. No, like what my local theaters are doing. They're doing drive-in movies. So there's actually like a couple movie theaters. Like there's this one independent theater that's doing drive-in movies, and there's also like an actual performance arts theater that's also doing drive-in movies too, because of course like plays can't go on because COVID. So I think that's kind of interesting. I think like it's gonna a lot of drive-ins are starting to get a lot of like traction now since they're starting to open up. They're like, hey, why don't we just like bank off of this? But as far as AMC and like actually sitting down and everything, no, I'm not in any rush.
Yeah, I'll just stick to streaming. I mean, I honestly feel like they should just send movies to stream anyway, or send newer films to drive-ins, or try and build more drive-ins.
I agree. I think eventually that's what's going to probably happen. Because I remember you sent me that article about the AMC's like opening up, and it's like something like $30 a ticket because of course everybody's trying to make their change back, their loss of money, during this COVID-19, and it's like it's not going to happen. No one's going to pay $30 to go to the theaters right now. Like they're, just in this time, like, I mean, there might be somebody down the line when this clears up. It's like, here, it's $30. I'll go, for sure.
$30, that's outrageous. But I mean, prices are really already technically like at minimum $14 to $20.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like another $10. Is it really that bad? I mean, I get you. I'm on the same boat with you.
Yeah. I'm not paying $30. Like one thing that I posted on my Instagram like a couple weeks ago, the announcement that, Mulan is going to streaming services, but it's going to be, you're already going to be paying, what it is for Disney Plus, but then they're trying to do like $30 to actually stream the actual movie. And I'm just like, we're already paying for a subscription. Like, why don't you just make it like $10 or like $15? But like 30, that's just like too much. But
oh yeah, I know some movies, they are doing the same thing too. Like with the newer films, they're trying to get as much money as possible. They're trying to liquidate as much as they can just because they can't release to theaters right now. And I really do think it's real stingy to go to that much inflation. It's like Mulan. It's like Mulan's going straight to Disney Plus. Yeah. Why are you charging extra for a movie that's part of a platform that's going to be free anyway?
Right.
Unless they're going to keep charging for that movie.
Exactly. And like you're going to keep like, again, like you're already subscribed to it. You're already like paying your monthly fee or like however you do it. Like might as well just like use the revenue off of that, or just having it being like $10 or so, or like even like, I don't know if it's a finance thing or whatever, but like even pushing the release to 2021, like late 2021, because like I feel like that movie is just so epic. You want to see it in theaters. Like I'm not even interested in like seeing it, just on my TV or on my laptop. Like I want to actually see it, but I don't know if people request me doing a review on it, then I guess I'll pay the $30 and just use it as a tax write-off.
Right, exactly. Smart.
I feel you. Utilizing like whatever tax money.
Yeah. For real. Like, I mean, I don't know. I was excited for Mulan to come out too. Like, and it was like a week before, like 2 weeks or something before. It was real close. And then this whole lockdown happened. So, and then COVID just started kind of spinning out of control. Everything was on halt, on like just stop, pause mode. The Tenet got pushed back a million times. So, and it was just like, damn, like this is, changing the whole system here. But the thing is like this whole inflation thing, like Walt was talking about, is like, yo, you can't be trying to nickel and dime everybody, like to try to make back your money, the loss of money. Everybody lost money. So everybody has to be in this together and bring their prices down until we can get back to a certain point where
besides people who are balling out on unemployment.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah. I wish they would have started us sooner with our unemployment. Okay, because that 600 was nice. Damn. But yeah.
Oh man.
Crazy times. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I would not go to the theater right now. Like they just released Suicide Squad, the trailer for Suicide Squad, and I talked about when they will release it, like I want to just be in a bubble. Like I'll be in a fucking bubble in the theater to see it, like in a fucking, bubble boy, like, type situation to see it, because I love Suicide Squad. But like, I'm not trying to die of COVID trying to see Harley Quinn. I love Harley Quinn. That's my girl, but I'm not trying to die. So
yeah, well, there could be a lot worse things, like people putting their pubes in your food and having you eat it. And as we are segueing, speaking of pubes, we are not going to segue into talking about Midsommar.
Yes. Man. Oh,
Or before we talk about that, I don't know how y'all felt about the whole like scene when he had the pube, when he found the pube in his food, and she had her period blood in his drink.
Okay, I didn't notice the period blood thing until like so this is my second viewing of Midsommar. But like one thing that I did before like watching this was look at all of these different videos analyzing Midsommar and everything like that, because when I watched a movie the first time, I obsess with it. So I like do all this research and all that stuff. And one video I watched was talking about you should pay attention to the tapestries because they foreshadow everything that's going to happen in the movie.
Yeah.
So there's that one tapestry with like the girl falling in love with the guy, and it's like she's casting a spell, and then I noticed, she's cutting her pubes, and then the period blood, and then when the scene where they're serving lunch, and I noticed his drink was like a little bit red, and everyone else's was like yellow. I was like, oh my god!
And he drank that shit too.
Yes,
he drank it.
Like I think I like screamed or something. Even though I've seen it, I was just like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I watched it last night, and as many times as I've watched this movie, because it was like maybe my 4th or 5th time watching it. Each time I see that scene come up, I'm just automatically disgusted. Like I'm literally sitting in my room with my beer in my hand, and as soon as he drank it, I was like, "Oh!"
Vile. Ugh. Gross.
Almost dropped my beer too.
I feel you now. I'm like, never mind. Let me put this in the fridge for later.
But if you notice, like, even with the beginning of the movie, they foreshadowed the whole movie. Like,
yes, that was one other thing too. Like, because I forgot about that part too. Because I was just like, I looked at the scene. Actually, I rewinded it back because I was like, they showed the entire movie through that tapestry, and I just love it because it's like it's almost like fairy tale like too, and it's supposed to be like a dark fairy tale. And I kind of like how it like showed this, and it's like this happy music, even though all this like crazy stuff is going on, and then it's just like, okay, here it is. But yeah, that was wild. That was like mind blowing to me too.
Yeah, when I first watched this movie, I saw it in theaters because I really wanted to see this movie. So when I saw it, I actually missed the beginning of it. Like I missed the tapestry part. I think when I walked in, I literally walked in when the tapestry was showing, and it was literally like just disappearing afterwards. And then it went into that scene with Danny and everything. So yeah, I mean, I didn't miss too much of the movie, but I did miss that part in theaters. And then when I rewatched the movie, like again when it came on Amazon, I looked at it and I was like, they just showed the whole ass movie in this one picture.
That's just so dope. I love it because you just think like when you're first watching the movie, you're just like, okay, I don't know what this is, but it is what it is. And then you kind of like start putting the pieces together. And the second time it's even like more magical. I just love this movie.
I mean, it's an unconventional horror.
Yeah, it is definitely original for sure. I'll give it that. I mean, the beginning, the tapestry. This is my, my first like watch of it for sure. And there's a lot of stuff that I caught, but in the beginning, I was just like, this is a fucking setup. Like at the end of the day, like, are you serious? Like Disney, you're gonna Disney it up and all pretty and looks so nice. And then it's like, yeah, okay, cool. We'll see how this goes. This is a setup.
I don't know. The tapestry reminded me more of like Grimm's fairy tales to me.
Yes.
Like all the Piper and all those other little tales that they do. Which, if you notice in the tapestry, did you notice how Pele, was kind of like the Piper in the tapestry? I watched it, like I said, when I watched it last night, and it's funny because I knew we were going to talk about it today. So I was like, all right, I'm about to like look at every detail, take all the notes I want. I kept rewinding to that tapestry part, and I was looking at every bit of detail with the tapestry and just looking at how they were placing all the characters. And what I noticed was like, they got Pele as the fucking Pied Piper.
Bringing in the prey.
Bringing in the prey. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. They got Danny and Christian looking all types of crazy. So this will go into like, since now we're segueing into the questions. So first question, since Ari Aster entangles the viewer into Danny's emotion to the point most would empathize with her, is it possible Christian's stoic behavior is a sign of his own trauma and abuse? Why or why not?
I guess I'll go first. Like, I would say, you know, the whole movie is about a doomed relationship. And even though it's mostly taking Danny's side, I also see Christian's side a little bit too, because ultimately, as people that don't necessarily want to be in the relationship, and Christian definitely doesn't want to be in the relationship too, because he essentially feels dragged on by Danny's drama. Like, his boys are telling him to break things up. He wants to get laid. Danny's not giving that to him. You know, that's, you know, that was mentioned at the beginning. And like all this other stuff too. And he's kind of feeling like torn. And then like all this stuff happens to Danny. And then he's just like, well, I have to be there even though I don't want to be there. So in a way, yes, I don't know if it's trauma per se, but it's definitely, he's kind of going through an emotional struggle. Like, what should I do? Should I, like, you know, for my own happiness, should I leave her? But also that will make her sad or like whatever. So I thought the film did a great job trying to that push and pull with that.
Yeah. I think honestly, like, when he was struggling, I'm pretty sure he didn't want to leave her in a very bad way, because it's like, wow, you just left a girl who lost her family and her sister through a murder suicide. You know, how fucked up are you? And I mean, yeah, he does look like he's just there just to be there. But I gotta say, like, after watching the movie again for so many times, like, I started to notice like little things like about him where, like, if he really didn't want to be in the relationship completely and just wanted to be out, I felt like he did little things to where he was just like, yo, like, let me make sure she's okay, you know? And he tried to help her out as much as he could, you know? I just felt like, I guess a lot of people who probably watched this film, they would probably take her side more and blame him, like, for everything that's happened. But it's like, no, it's not really his responsibility too much, you know, to kind of cure her, you know? She needed, she, like, each time I watched this movie, and I always thought about, like, this other girl that I used to have, like, a sort of relationship with. And it's like, to me, I was thinking, like, well, and this is my thing about the other girl. I was like, you know what? If she did more things for herself, or just, like, been, like, trying to, I guess, like, self-heal from whatever's been happening with her before, she'll be straight. Like, she would be straight. Yeah. You know? And I felt like that's what Danny needed. You know, she didn't need Christian to kind of, like, help her get cured. She needed to cure herself in the end. Because I feel like if it was vice versa, it would have been like, you need to cure yourself. You need to find yourself, you know, man up, this, that, and other, you know?
Yeah, I feel that.
And
another thing too that I noticed, like, from the jump, even when I watched this film the first time too, was that Danny's friend, like her girlfriend that was on the phone.
Where was that
like,
chick during the movie?
Like, you know, good riddance. Like, if he doesn't care about your emotion, you should leave him. And I'm just thinking about this. Where was this friend the entire time? Like, where was she? Like, she seems like a dope person. She was right the entire time. So it's just like...
But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, and it goes back to the person I'm thinking of. Like, I feel like she had friends and family that was, like, in her ear saying this, that, and the other. But it's like, as soon as she's, like, on the downward side of things, where are these people at? Where are they at? You know, they sitting here giving all these, like, advice, telling you, like, well, if he ain't there, fuck him. Go get someone else. Like, all this, that, and the other. But it's like, when shit goes down, where the fuck is this person?
Oh, And I honestly think that, now you just said something, because I think that might have been like intentional with the script too, because I was just like, wait, that would have been like such a good character to even have on the trip, but you know, they might have just ghosted. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead. I want to hear Dimi's perspective.
Go ahead.
Sure. Like, I like you guys' perspective on it too, but and mine might be a little bit harsh, but I feel like this is exactly how I felt. She annoyed the living shit out of me because she cried. Like, I understand, like, you know, my heart goes out for this character. I would never want what happened to her family happen to anybody, right? Period, point blank, right? So I get that. My heart absolutely, the moment she was sobbing and, like, she can't even catch her breath in the beginning, totally understand. It's her family. She lost everything right then and there, right? I get that. But after, like, consistently breaking down, I was like, you should have stayed your ass at home. How about that? Like, let's just stay there. Like, you know, like, get your wusa, your feng shui, like, all of that together. Like, you know, like, you should not be going around other who I feel like are very low vibrational people who are probably fucked up in their own heads too, and going through their own shit. And I feel like they're all like these like fake empty connections between them. Like, just there was no real friendships in those bonds and those connections. The only real bond that I seen in the whole entire movie was the London couple, the couple from London. Like,
yeah,
you know,
their relationship was real. That for real was real.
Yeah, like, he was super down for his girl, she was super down, like vice versa. Like, they reacted to me like how people naturally would react if your friend goes missing, if you know, all this stuff like is happening. And I'm like, y'all a bunch of fake ass friends, because, and you know, like, lonely and the shit, like, all of them were all, each and every one of them were very like lonely, and I think they used their loneliness, you know, to like as a crutch on each other. Even homeboy, who was like, you guys are like seriously like my real family. Like, that means that he has no sense of family. Like, whatever like little bit of family he could get, that's cool. He's gonna settle for that, and that's good enough for him, you know. So, and I actually, now that I've like thought about that too, he was jealous of the relationship between Danny and Christian, even though there was nothing to be jealous of. But it's because he has nothing, you know what I'm saying? So when people have nothing and they're lonely, it just becomes toxic. It becomes crutches on top of crutches, and they start leeching on each other, and it just becomes this nasty circle of toxicity or toxicness and emptiness. Like, nobody gives a shit about anybody, you know. So it's
I really thought Mark was the true asshole of the film.
He really was.
Like, I know a lot of people probably hated Christian, and it's funny because if you listen to like some of the reviews and people who talk about this film, they really have a real hate for Christian. And I'm like one of those, that 1%er that's like, why y'all hate Christian? Christian is not that bad. He's lazy, but he's not bad. Like, he like, to me, I feel like he tries the best of his ability to be a good person, but he goes about it the wrong way sometimes, you know?
Exactly. Like, when I first watched the movie, I like absolutely like hated Mark. Like, and I still do. But then I noticed too throughout the entire time, and I'm actually surprised that Mark didn't get killed earlier, because like the entire time he hated everything of the trip, and he just wanted to get laid and all this other stuff, and he wanted to like break up Danny and Christian, but he also wanted his own like little girlfriend, and he was jealous that Christian was, you know, this one girl from the village is trying to like, you know, putting pubes in his food and trying to fall in love and stuff, like all this nonsense. And then like, you know, the scene where he like, you know, pees on the ancestor tree, and that's when they like, you know, try and loses it, because that talks about his like disrespect for everything that's going
See,
on.
I wanna touch base on that because here's my conclusion on how I felt about that.
Mhm.
Mark is the quintessential representation of American behavior.
Oh yeah.
People from America who go and bring their own values into another country that don't have the same values as them, and they do shit over there as if they would do over here and not have any respect for any of the people or their customs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing for Josh too, you know. Even though he was the smart black guy in the movie, he was disrespectful too. Like he went and looked at the book after they told him you can't look at the book. He went in the temple, snuck in there when he wasn't supposed to. So both their asses deserve to die in the film. Like their deaths to me was very justifiable.
Yes, I agree. And then here's another thing, another foreshadow that I didn't notice the first time, but there's this one scene where like a group of kids are playing this game called Skin the Fool. Like, did you notice that?
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, and that's how everyone, or almost everyone dies, is they get skinned. I was just like, oh shoot, and they're all like foolish and according to, you know, the group's like rituals and everything, and like they are very foolish because they are disrespecting them. So
yeah,
I thought that was an interesting foreshadow too.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. I mean, I feel like I didn't see Christian as the bad guy towards overall, and not even just because of what happened to them, like,
but
or
even when he forgot about her birthday.
No.
Yeah, like with that.
After 3 years of dating.
But even like when he was like, it was like 4 years. They've been together for 4 years or something like that. And Danny had to correct him. I just felt like these two people did not want to be in a relationship, as you guys had pointed out. They didn't want to be in a relationship together. I think that again, Danny, I kind of broke it down a little bit, where I feel like Danny was going through a traumatizing time, but then she was also lonely, and then he was lonely. He was scared to be lonely. Like, oh, but what if I want her back? That's loneliness. Like, you're not gonna want to break up with somebody unless it's just something that just comes up, that happens, life happens. But I'm saying, like, in the way that he's trying to break up with her, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna put her up in the back burner for right now. No, that's loneliness. Like, you're trying to have a tag team partner on the side, and like, when I'm ready to have you, come back into me. Like, no, that's not how relationships work, you know? Like,
I think they were on a normal tip of relationships where couples go, they're on again and off again. I think that's the motion that they were in. And maybe like, again, like, I mean, I'm speaking to about like all the people I've talked to about this movie, you know, none of them really cared for Christian at all. But I'm like, their relationship was definitely like on this, at that moment, an on again, off again kind of trail. My thing is, and here's something that probably not many people thought about. What do you think the relationship was before they got together?
Ooh. I actually kind of thought about this a little bit too. I think based off of the little moment that we saw, you know, before they got together, like I think they did have a good relationship and it was strong. However, at that 3-year, 4-year mark, relationships to start changing and things start fizzling out. Both of them were like in school. I think, like, I don't know if Danny was like a graduate student, but I know Christian was, and his friends and like all this other stuff, and they're kind of like essentially growing apart. And then like Danny, she was talking about how she went through stuff with her sister and like how her sister's bipolar and how that's affecting the family. So I think all of that stuff kind of started, you know, making the relationship kind of unravel a bit. So that's probably like exactly like what happened. But, you know, when I was looking at the film, there's still kind of like some love there, or at least some like
there was
affection there, because like there's that scene where like Danny, she picks up like the flowers backwards and she gives them to Christian, and then he's like holding on to her and kisses her on the forehead, and like, you know, and even with toxic relationships, there's still like moments of, you know, love or infatuation there. So yeah, I thought it was still good wasn't like a dick the entire time, but at the same, because that was more like realistic, that little moment. So
Yeah, he still remembers like why he's still trying to remember like why he was in there in the first place. You know, he's not trying to I feel like he wasn't trying to get still caught up in that whole like, oh my gosh, she has all this drama, all this baggage, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. No, at some point, like, if he was like Mark, okay, yeah, I would say like, yeah, he's pretty much bad. But he wasn't anything like Mark. He was more passive aggressive and on the middle ground, you know? Now, is that a crime? Like, no, it's not a crime. Like, it's just the way he is. Like, is it a crime that he's lazy? It's not a crime that he's lazy, you know?
Right.
It's just literally the way he is, you know?
I think that that's the thing that I noticed about both of those characters is that they were both very passive aggressive. She slept on her emotions. She always second guessed herself. She put herself second to last to everything, like seriously. And I feel like Christian like was also very passive aggressive too. And you're going to everybody kind of you get to a certain point where you groom the person essentially how you want to be treated, and you kind of start accepting certain things and certain habits start to form. So they start treating you a certain way because they're used to it. Now you become a pushover, and now the relationship becomes toxic because you're not putting your foot down enough. You're not communicating enough what you want. He's also not communicating enough what he wants, and you guys are not on the same page. You know, it's unbalanced. So do I feel like there was love there? I think at a time that there was love there at a point in time, but I think there was more of a friendship throughout this entire film between them two, because I feel like between Danny and Christian, they were more comfortable. I don't think it was love. I think it was like they're comfy. They're used to each other. They're used to, baby, you know, and let me, you know, try to forget. But I feel like, and I'm not saying that men don't forget birthdays and things like that. Everybody forgets birthdays.
You shouldn't forget a birthday though. You shouldn't forget a birthday.
I'm just saying it does happen. Life does happen and stuff like that. And I'm not making an excuse for it. Of course, you know, remember your people's birthdays for sure. But I think that that was just another indication that the relationship had, you know, run its
should have been
course. Like, like he was done with the situation. I really think that he was coming to the house. I mean, like eventually gonna have like a conversation with her at some point where he was just gonna be like, I'm just not there with you right now, you know, and maybe down the line they would get together and fix it if it was so on and off again. But I just feel like the relationship clearly ran its course. I think Danny was trying to get her life together and trying to kind of figure out what the hell she wanted.
She honestly, and it sounds so fucked up considering like her family died, but she needed to be alone. Like, honestly speaking, like and it's so funny to me because I feel like I think all the people that I've talked to about this film, I guess they're more on like the whole relationship thing. Well, some people I talked to, they're in a relationship, and then there's people that I've talked to that kind of jump relationship to relationship, or they're in some kind of relationship. And I feel like for them, they're probably thinking like, well, he shouldn't leave her alone. He should be there for her and do this, that, and the other for her. But it's like, no, because if the shoe was on the other foot, like, it would be like, well, Christian needs to get his shit together. He needs to man up. He needs to spend some time alone, strengthen himself. But it's like, why is it like one way for the man and it's not the way for the other gender also? And it's just like, no, because then now we're just babying her. And I feel like that's what everybody was doing with her. They were just like coddling her, babying her, you know, she cries. They coming over like, oh, Danny, it's all right. I mean, even Pele, even though his fake ass was over there too, like about some, oh, Danny, do you ever feel held by him? Like,
could not
that's all
stand
that baby shit.
Oh, and like
jump.
And one thing that I even like the first time I watched this, I think I was single when I watched this. Yeah, but anyway, but like yeah, but it was just like on the first time I watched it, I was just kind of like, you know, I was just I was just thinking, like, either one of them should have broken up with each other. She needed to be alone, how to deal with her stuff. And then, you know, like, her friend from the beginning should have said that. And then, like, also Christian should have been like, hey, let's break up. I'm not feeling this anymore. Or, like, whatever the problem was. Like, I think it's honestly both of their faults, like, from the jump. Like, I honestly, like, you know, my being single, being in a relationship, whatever the circumstance might be, watching this film, I'm like, the relationship was doomed and they should have just broken up with each other.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel like the passive aggressiveness got to a point where it got so toxic for these people to be together. Like, they're just feeding into each other's emptiness and bullshit. Like, it's like, y'all don't want to be together. Danny did not want to be in that relationship either, because at the end of the day, when you have no self-value and low self-esteem, and I'm not saying that it happens to all of us. We go through shit in our lives, we're human beings, but I feel like she needed to gather herself even before what the horrific things that happened to her family. Even before that moment, she needed time to really understand who Danny was, what her opinion is on things, what she stands for as a woman, as far as what she wants. Like, what is it that Danny wants? Like, you can't be,
Danny didn't have that.
yeah, like, you can be, you know, put baby in the corner and just shut up and just, you know, do a dance, Danny. Like, and that's what she basically was always doing. Like, she never voiced exactly what she needed to say. And it was just like, oh my God, that was so painful to see, because it's like, Danny, just say, if you want to talk to him about the situation and he's clearly like he wants to leave, then you need to let him leave. And then you need to realize that you need to move forward with your life, because you're wasting your time and he's wasting his. And I was kind of mad at Christian at first. I kind of caught an attitude with him because I was like that's such a,
that's only
excuse my
natural.
language. Yeah,
That's only natural. They dressed him up that way. He was dressed to be hated in this
no,
film.
He was.
I agree with that. But what made me more mad about Christian, because I actually was okay with Christian, because I felt like from the jump it was equally, I could see
Even after he had sex with Maya.
Oh,
even with that, I really feel bad for him for that one. I do. My heart.
Thank you.
I think I'm like the only one who feels like, but it's like I feel bad for him because, but I was kind of like a lot of people and like the characters were acting dumb, like, and that was just irritating the shit out of me. Yeah, like y'all just taking berries that you don't even know what it does, taking all kinds of drugs and, you know, like juices and stuff like that you don't even know what it is, and you're just hearing, you know, just juggling it. First of all, the fact that these people just came to take my bags, like, bitch, I don't need you to take my bags anywhere. Like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like, just stuff like that. Like, I'm a certain particular type of way, and I'm just like, I try not to be, you know, super American. I try to respect people's customs and stuff like that. But I would have even gotten on the plane, because there's certain things that they were not questioning enough for me that I was like, nah. Like, yeah.
The funny thing that you saw it one time and noticed that says a lot, because it took me a couple of times to start going like, why aren't they questioning any of this?
Yeah. And they're just like, here's some mushroom tea. Oh, like, you know, whatever. Just like, okay, cool. It's like, yeah, well, I understand why Danny took the mushroom tea, but like Mark, when they were like, hey, we got these, I think, I don't even know if they said like what it was, and he was like, okay, and it's just like, what?
Yeah.
You know, it was dumb because like Mark was like talking to Christian. He was like, dude, we can't drop these at 2 different times. We'll have different trips. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's not how getting high works. When you get high, you get high. It doesn't matter when it kicks in.
Yeah, 100%. It's because he's so codependent. Like, he's anything.
Oh, they
that
were all
Christian
codependent.
does, like, yeah, like, all of them codependent on each other for sure. But I feel like Christian, like, he what is it, Mark wanted to be Christian so bad. Like, he looked up to him like he was like the big brother in a sense, and he's like, you know, whatever Christian does, I want to do, you know, type of thing. But I have to point out in the beginning of this film, like, when they were going to Sweden and Pele was driving or whatever, and there's a certain point in the beginning of that trip where it's like normal, you kind of see like society, like normal, like people walking around and whatever. And then it's like, so this is the point where you want to get the fuck out of the car, like right now. Like this is the safe point. Like you should like leave right now, right? Then they keep driving. Then the camera angles, it's all about the camera angles. The camera angles was telling on everybody, right? So it like did this whole like turn, like slow turn, like, and that's when I feel like this is when shit gets real. There is no going back from this point on. Like everything's about to get fucked up, right? So yeah.
Speaking of camera angles, did you notice when they were all fighting, like Christian, Mark, Danny, and Josh, like the four of them were cropped in the scene except Pele.
Yeah.
When they were all fighting, and that tells me when I was watching it, like, because I noticed this yesterday, it told me at that moment, I'm like, oh, he's with them. Like, he's really with them. Like, he's not with the gang themselves. He's there being an observer and bringing them there as prey. Just they're laying out what his intentions truly were. You know, while he's sitting there talking about like, hey, Christian, buddy, old pal. He just sitting there like, I wonder what's gonna happen to you when the code gets you. You know, he's sitting there going to Danny like, hey, I drew you this picture for your birthday. I hope you like it. This is something I do for everyone. You know, using his accent, and she getting swept up by the accent. She's like, okay, Pele, thank you. You know, he's sitting there like, I wonder if you're gonna be the new May Queen. You know,
100%. Like he already knew it was up. Exactly. Like I feel like he was a wolf in sheep's clothing the entire time, even from the jump. He was sitting on that couch with that damn book closed like that, with the damn table set up and all that. I said, nah, this fool is up to something. First of all, don't even compare your traumas to my traumas. I don't even know you like that. Like this is our first conversation, and like I just lost my parents, and now from the jump you want to say, oh, I've been through that. You don't even know me, sir. Like,
but see, that's how weak-minded she was, and the audience was not going to question that because they were siding with Danny. And here comes the dark white knight, Pele, you know, trying to look like he's cleaning up Christian's job, but he's really just preying on her insecurities.
That's so true. And like, also, so there's 2 points I want to say. Okay, so the first point, we were talking about camera angles. One thing I really admired about this film is like you're kind of on this journey with this crew. Like you don't get, like the camera is just shot from like, you know, their eye level, like everything like that. So, and you don't know what's going on. You don't know what Pele and his friend are talking about. And you know, when Pele says, oh, come on, and then the camera kind of creeps forward like as if you're creeping forward. So that was cool. And then going back to, you know, Pele being the wolf in sheep clothing, how a lot of these like love triangles happen with all these toxic people and stuff like that is often there's that guy that's like, hey, if you need a shoulder to cry on, I'm that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Pele is that guy.
Yeah, he's every like sneaky fuck boy that friends somebody and he's going behind the back of the friend hitting on his girl. Because he's sitting there like, oh, he don't deserve you. But see, he wasn't trying to keep Danny. He was trying to
set the prey.
Do something like prey on Danny, have Danny as a new breed. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he just was trying to get all her walls down completely so that she could be as vulnerable as possible. Feel like, you know, set it up where he feels, or where Danny feels like, oh, she could really trust him. And even down to the point where he didn't want to say what the agendas like were for the day, and like the whole like sacrificing of the old woman and the old man. First of all, I ain't going to nowhere where you got to tell me all kinds of agendas. 9 o'clock in the morning, you got to be here. Certain thing. What is happening? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm super spontaneous, but. Like that scene alone, when he's sitting on the couch or sitting on the bed and he's just like, I don't know, I'll explain it. It's too hard to explain. What the fuck could be so hard to explain in a small ass town on, like really, a place out of nowhere. There's really no, like, come on, bro.
But see, the movie does a good job with that because we're swept into the whole. We're immersed into the whole situation. Like as far as with Danny and Christian, we're not. We're psychologically not asking the important questions, like, why isn't Pele explaining what's happening? Why are all the characters' questions, important questions, getting ignored by the people of the Hagra? Yeah. Like, if you remember when Simon and Connie, the two British couple, was talking to Igmar, Simon was like, so we're not going to acknowledge the bear in the cage? And Igmar, he just said, it's a bear. Not even saying what the bear is for.
Exactly.
Like, it's a bear,
Right.
So
and then, like, and oh man, okay, just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, here's this one thing too. I noticed at the end of the scene where Pele was like, oh, don't worry about it, it's hard to explain, and then they go to bed, but Danny stays up and she's looking at a tapestry again, and it was the tapestry of like someone like cutting their hand, like the same thing in the ceremony. So I was also kind of curious, this is a little bit fan theory, if she actually knew what was going to happen and she just tried to ignore her trauma. And then because she kind of had a feeling before, they actually jumped off the cliff that was going to happen. And maybe she noticed that they were like cutting their hands. And she was like, oh, this is the part. And of course she like freaked out because she didn't think she could, or because she realized she couldn't handle seeing that. But I think she probably already kind of knew. So that's my theory about that.
Yeah,
no, that's a really good theory. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. I could see that. That's great that you brought that up, Megan, because I think that just looking at her face during that whole like time, she's like really observing, and it's almost like she knows what's gonna happen, like you said, and then it finally happens, and then she's like, oh my god, I just seen somebody just fucking kill themselves. Like, so I think, and because she had the worst freak out, the most. I mean, throughout the entire film, she was just freaking out, losing her mind and losing her marbles. But I feel like she, like, it really kind of hit her differently. And she was, like I said, she was about to leave, right? She was about to pack her shit and like, let's go. And then every time they would try to pack their things and go, somebody goes missing or something happens. Like, nope, you can't leave. It's like, oh, hell no. I'll pick the right ones because I'm fighting. I'm burning shit down. It's going down. Like, hell no.
All right, since we are talking about the Hagra, this does kind of segue into my next question. Do you think, because like the Hagra had everybody separated for days on end, do you think that their influence and culture is kind of what drew a wedge between Danny and Christian?
I think it did draw a wedge, but it necessarily wasn't really they're probably thinking all of this, oh, it's because of the culture, but it was really the whole like coaxing thing that Pele was doing. And they honestly were like literally like pulling these folks away from different things. Like, I'm thinking about the scene where Danny was like, what's going on in this like barn area? And like, that's when, Christian is having sex with Maya. And then like, and then, so I think that was kind of the first moment that Danny was just like, wait a minute, no, like, fuck y'all, like, I'm gonna go over there and stuff, even though they're like, oh no, that's private or whatever.
You know what? It always goes back to that scene. Every time I talk about this movie, it always goes back to that scene. And you know who mostly say like it's his fault? Mostly women, because they refer back to that scene. But here's the thing. They want you to forget that scene because they want you to remember that scene, but they want you to forget that Christian was drugged.
That's true.
He was drugged. She was drugged during the dance ceremony.
Yeah.
I didn't realize she was drugged until like last night when I watched it, when she noticed like she had the grass on her feet again. And the last time she saw it was when? she took the mushroom tea.
Yeah.
So he was drugged, she was drugged. They forced Christian without his consent, talking about,
That's true.
oh, you could breed with her and you have our approval. And he's sitting there like, the fuck are y'all talking about?
Yeah, he's lost. Poor thing. Like, I feel bad for Christian. I feel like, really, you know, I have to say, it's like he got like raped, but they could.
He had the ultimate screw job, but also they were playing her too, because going back to what you said, Megan, they isolated her when they purposely made her May Queen just so they could have him have sex with her.
Yeah.
Isolate her as much as possible. And when she noticed that one building, they didn't really stop her. They wanted her to see it, because they were like, well, we got what we wanted out of Christian, which was a baby, because we don't want to breed any more cousins right now, you know?
Yeah.
Any more oracles. Right. They're only little crazy oracles. But I mean, I feel like, and a poor child, but I feel like what happened with just the friendships just dwindling down, like little by little by little. The ones who were the most sensible to me, again, were the English couple or the couple from London. Like, they were the most sensible. But I also feel like, if you remember, I don't know who was it like Pele's brother or whatever? He tried to separate.
It was his brother.
Yeah, his brother, exactly.
They weren't even brothers. They were just born at the same time, and they were friends since they were babies.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not blood brothers, but it's like, if you remember their story or his story, remember like how she introduced it, like, we only went on one date, like it wasn't even a date. I didn't even know it was a date, right? Like, that was his little way of trying to put a divide between that couple. And so, like, that's what they kept trying to do throughout the movie. The entire movie is put a divide between the friendships, but they had no true bonds to begin with. So make them, the more vulnerable we can make these people, the more we can put stuff in them. They're not going to question it, because they think it's a festival. They think it's fun. I'm not going to question it, Let's keep bringing them, vulnerable and drugged out and stuff like that. And we got him where we want him. And if you remember, like, certain like sitting like scenes, like where they were eating and stuff like that, they had times where they were sitting next to each other, like as friends. They were sitting next to each other, certain scenes, right? And then one by one, they start fucking missing and something's going on, right? Well, imagine if Mark or any of them were sitting next to Christian during that time before he got drugged to go sleep with the female. That wouldn't have been able to happen if they still had friends alive at that time, because they would have been what the fuck, right? Exactly. So I'm just like, yeah, they got them where they had wanted them, basically.
I like having this conversation with y'all. Because
I didn't even realize, going back to that scene too, like from the second viewing, I did realize, like, I knew he was drugged in the first part, but I didn't I don't know. I didn't really put the two together. Like, oh, they like manipulated that whole situation, and hence why he was doing that. And I guess and also I noticed, like, he's clearly out of it. And then, like, okay, I don't want to get too graphic because it's going to be on YouTube, but, there's the woman behind him kind of pushing him forward so he'll be able to, So, and I was like, well, that's even, manipulative in that sense, too. Yeah. But it's just like, shoot, like, that's the part I was just like, okay. Like, I was like, well, okay, you're right. That's not his fault.
It's really not. It's really, I'm trying to tell people, like, it's not even Christian's fault. He got manipulated. They not only manipulated him, they manipulated Danny, and Ari Aster manipulated the audience.
Yeah.
so he did a good ass job with this one.
Yes,
because after everybody see Christian butt ass naked running around, the village, everybody's already thinking like, man, fuck him, I didn't like him anyway. And I'm sitting there like, wait, hold on, time out, motherfucker, time out. Like, what did he do that was so bad? I understand he wanted to break up with her and he forgot her birthday. That was bad. But that section, that wasn't his fault. They orchestrated that.
Yeah, I think the thing that pissed me off the most. Okay, the thing that pissed me off the most, probably for my second viewing, is that Christian got caught for plagiarizing, and then I forgot the black guy's name. I really did.
Josh.
Josh, yeah. So Josh, he snuck into the temple, got the book, and then when Josh gets in trouble and gets killed and stuff, Christian's all like, "Oh, I don't associate with him. He's not a friend of mine." All this other stuff.
Oh yeah, that was fucked up.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah.
that was a fuckboy moment.
Yeah,
that was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
See, that goes back to what Dimi says though. None of them were real friends to begin with. They were just there they were just there, just being codependent on each other. Somebody's using somebody for academics. One's using another person for a good time, whatever. Another person's using another person because they don't want to be alone. In a relationship, they don't want to be a single person because it's so bad. It's like the fuck?
Yeah.
And then Josh was using Kayleigh for the trip because he wanted to do this, so it's just it's a circle of everything.
Yep, but Kayleigh was using everyone to continue the breed of cult members,
Yes,
exactly. He was writing in his little book, I got you suckers, all right, please. I feel with the these people didn't know how to think on their own, really have a mind of their own, because I feel even down to Josh, why did Christian have to piggyback on his idea? Why couldn't he come with something more, creative or whatever? And so it's I don't feel like any of them had a single mind of their own individual minds. And because at the end of the day, if they did, they would have been questioning all kinds of stuff, especially with Kayleigh's leadership and all that stuff. Wait, how come you're the one who's in the trip? It's all of us in this trip. How come we can't decide what we're going to be doing in this trip? You know what I mean? I just feel they just did not, they were not thinking 100%.
Well, see, it goes back to what I said, Ari Aster fooled all of us, and we're all sitting there, well, minus me, but, and a few other people, but I'm not going to say just me, but for those that were paying attention, we're sitting there thinking to ourselves, why is this happening? While other people who probably don't really analyze film, they just sit and watch. And, for those that probably did hate the film, I feel like they didn't analyze it enough. They're probably sitting there getting swept under all the basic stuff that's happening, the relationship and just the weird stuff that's happening right in front of them. They're not questioning what's happening or what's happening around the surroundings, and that's what I really do like about this film. Question, and this is a very interesting one because I saw this in a video on YouTube. Did you guys notice? I mean, did you girls notice? Because there's no guys. I'm the only guy in here. Did you notice that there was no colored people in the Hagra?
Not a single one.
Nope.
Not a single one.
Yeah, did you know that it possibly they're racist, they're white supremacists?
Yeah,
straight up.
I think so too. And what's crazy too? It's almost, they seem very Aryan-like too, because they're always looking for people with light hair, blonde. And I think that's also why Kayleigh targeted Danny, because she's I think she's the only blonde too, with blue eyes or whatever. So I think that's why he's oh yeah, she's the May Queen. I think the May Queen thing was rigged.
Oh, it
Like,
was. It was definitely
yeah.
rigged.
Because like also with the girls falling down, they're like, okay, and it's just like,
Yeah.
I noticed that too. I was like, that's the fakest fall ever. What kind of fake shit?
Exactly.
This is like some WWE type shit. Like,
Exactly. 100%. None of the bitches were actually drunk. Like they probably didn't even drink. Like they used to this. They know
oh,
exactly what they were doing.
yeah,
they're
they
drinking
know.
that
They
shit
know their
every
tolerance.
day.
They have high tolerance now. They're like,
Exactly.
they're like LSD, nothing. Who?
Right, exactly.
Like, girl, I drink this for my breakfast. Like, it's all good.
LSD for breakfast?
Real.
That's a hard ass life.
Like, I don't know. Shrooms, whatever.
I'm just
God.
thinking like, after you said that, I'm just thinking like, wow, they probably do that shit every day.
They do. It's
Quick,
Like, I've
normal.
been doing
like-
this since I was 10. I'm good.
Yeah, for real. They gotta build up their into their digestion and all that stuff. So over all the years, like I guarantee they're used to that. But what made me mad at like Christian, though, again in this film, and I would say a couple of like the ones who could have gotten away. I don't care how dense the fucking forest is, and I'm sorry I have to say that. I don't care how dense the forest is. Y'all got all kinds of torches and stuff like that. I'm telling you, I would be fucking shit up in the village, like torching people, throwing fire at people. Oh hell no! Like taking off. I don't care if I got thorns in my foot, whatever. I'm getting out. Get that.
You know what? In
Hell no.
this same video, it was talking about like how the manipulation from the cult is playing on the fact that everything is done in the daylight, and because like they're coming off friendly in the day, and that's supposedly like when most like cult people who go out to recruit, they usually do this stuff in the daytime. So. We're having a sense of comfort. I'm thinking about more of the psychology of the viewer. We're having a sense of comfort about these people, but we're not looking at the real details. Like, there's no minorities in that fucking movie at all, like except for Josh.
Yeah.
And Josh, to me, I'm like, as a black character, he should have been aware of that shit.
Yeah. Like,
He
Well,
should
he
have
was
been.
so infused in his thesis. Like he really knew some shit about that culture.
Yeah,
So he
That's the thing. I feel like he actually was getting so close to knowing what was going on, or I think he did know, but he needed the physical evidence to prove it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you noticed like his look kind of like when he was going through his like notes and everything, and he was looking at the symbols about like the religion and the temple and everything. He had this look like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. I think I need to like get more evidence from that book. I need to try and get in that temple and get some of that written language so I can see if what I'm thinking is happening really is happening.
And it's true. It's true. I'm glad you guys caught that because now that you guys bring that up, like I'm like, damn, he sure was sweating on that bed, like, cause he went from like, chill, lax or whatever, like, to like wet and like something is wrong here. But I mean, I've been something was wrong. The moment, don't be giving me berries and shrooms out of nowhere. Why are you trying to drug me? Like, like, come on, like something's wrong.
But see, also Christian, he was getting to that point too. Like after like they approached him to like have sex with Maya and all that, he thought in his head like, wait a minute, something's not right about this whole situation. And that's when he started feeling like, you know what, I need to get Denny and get us the fuck out of here. I think a lot of people forget that he was really trying to get out of there with her, but he got so caught up with everyone trying to drug him, and these people were watching. If you notice, these people were watching everyone that wasn't them. They were making sure like these people were stay drugged up or whatever state they wanted these people to be in. They didn't want them to think consciously. So I'm like, y'all can't get mad at my boy Christian. Get off of him.
No, it's true.
Also,
No,
Oh yes, sir. So I think also why a lot of people are mad at Christian, especially for the scene, is at the beginning Mark was like to the waitress after she left, it's like, see, you could get her pregnant like right now if you could. And it was like that was almost kind of like you think it's it is foreshadowing.
It is a
but
foreshadow.
It's almost in a way a red herring too, because it's like, wait, that was Mark's thought. He was like, hey, no, you can do that, Christian. If I were you, I would do that. Christian didn't want to do that.
Christian didn't want to do none of that shit.
And I thought, from the first viewing, oh, Christian wants to do that because, he's seeing silent. He's probably agreeing with him. But then I was just like, no, that's just Mark trying to, like, mosey his way into everything. And so, yeah, like, and the second time, I was just, like, thinking, and as we're having this conversation, I'm like, yeah, like, that was, Christian didn't want to do that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keep in mind. Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
You go ahead. I'll say after you.
Okay. Well, my thought was not only did Mark say like, "Oh, you could impregnate her." Keep in mind, Pele chimed in and was like, "Well, think about all the girls you can impregnate."
Yes.
When you go to Sweden this summer.
Seriously.
He's like, I know, I have a bunch of cousins, I have a bunch of sisters.
Sisters.
Yeah, for real. Probably some of them were, because that poor boy, the orphan.
Oh yeah.
Something happened there.
Well, keep in mind, a lot of inbreeding is going on in that culture.
Yeah, you could tell something went down, definitely. But I feel like I was just gonna say, I don't think, because I would have said Josh is the only Black person, but the guy who was a part of the London couple or whatever, he looks Black to me, like, or like he's mixed or something like that. Yeah, because just the way he like looks to me. But I feel like he just had
curly hair. That's all.
I don't know, Black people are fair skin like me, because there's a lot of people who are like, "What? You're Black?" Like, because I'm fucking so like pale and shit. So, but unless you see like my curly hair, then they're like, "Oh shit," Then if they start, saying so. But no, I feel like just my point of that was there were 3 people of color at this place, and they all got picked off real fast. How come homegirl couldn't be the maid, whatever, the maid queen? But I also feel like the reason why too is that I don't think that she wasn't gonna stop looking for her man, like her fiance. So she was asking too many questions and all that stuff, like this is not what happened, like any of us would do, so
something the movie doesn't want you to do is ask too many questions.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like distraction basically. But I was like, oh hell no, like there's just no way in hell. Like, I feel like my man is missing. I'm again burning everybody down. Like there's only so many people that were there. There was a group of people. There's like 15 or something like that. Maybe it was maybe 20. All right. But at the end of the day, let me take you 10 real quick. And let me see if I can light some asses on fire. Because forget this. Let me tell you, these people are freaky. Like, don't. And then I just feel like I'm such a germophobic person. So, and not just because from this COVID thing, but just in general. So when I go over to people's houses, I'm not just gonna eat whatever that they give me and stuff like that. I also have just, problems with just like, I don't know how people prepare their food. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very picky when I go to people's houses, and even my friends, like my closest friends, like my best friend Emily, she laughs at me and she's like, you don't like sharing your food or anything. I'm like, I am picky. I am a germaphobe. So all of the stuff that was going on in this place, I would have been asking 10,000 questions. They would have had to kill me because you're not gonna just give me no shrooms and all of that stuff. Like, nah, son.
Speaking on the food, did y'all notice, like, and this goes back to what Megan said, like, they were skinning everybody. What happened to the people's bodies?
That was another thing too. Like, I was wondering with the meat pie thing, I was just like, are they actually like eating the people?
I think they're eating the people.
I think they are too. I think they're cannibalistic. Like, I don't know if it's because I watched too many movies, but I'm just like, where's everything else? Like,
but see, you gotta ask those questions, because I started asking, like, where are they getting their food from? And when it was the end and everybody was kind of like in like those little haystack dummies and whatever, I'm sitting there like, I'm thinking to myself, like, wait a minute, what happened to their bodies? And then I'm thinking, and I'm putting two and two together, like, are they eating the bodies? Like, are they eating the people? Is that their food to feed their village? Like,
no, 100%. I agree. I feel like the sacrifices were definitely the meat pies, but I feel like because I didn't know where Homeboy was eventually, like they showed him that he was in the farm all hanging up or whatever, that weird shit. But it was just like, I thought they cut him up into the meat pies because they kept focusing really closely onto the pies and stuff like that. I was like, so these are people pies for sure. And then
they're Soylent pies.
Yeah,
Have you guys ever seen Soylent Green before? They're eating Soylent pies.
What's that one? But Johnny Depp movie. I forgot. But never mind.
You're talking about the demon barber.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Sweeney Todd.
Todd. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites also.
Classic. Definitely classic one. But I feel like even at that table though, there was like the cow or whatever that they had on that table. If you keep looking at it, it has like a woman's like breast, like it looks like kind of like a woman's shaped body on top and stuff like that. And I kept trying to look and peep out what was going on because it looked like a female's top half body. And I kept trying to figure out where was the London chick, where'd she go, right? So then when they brought her out, I was like, well, it's not her, but it could be somebody else. And then last to that, I feel like they have a body farm, because what is up under those blue sheets, bro? Like, why is that shit covered up? Like, see?
No, we just keep unfolding and unraveling new things, and that's what makes this movie fun to watch like multiple times, because you notice all those little details.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're like super into like analyzing film and seeing like different things or new things in a film, this is a fun film to watch. I'm pretty sure like sometimes the length of the movie is too much, but that I feel like that was done intentional, because the video that I watched, they talk about like how in cults they use time to kind of like manipulate people, and so they get blinded by what's happening in front of them and they don't notice it. Same thing that's happening in this movie. The movie is so long, is that, you know, Ari Aster knows you're going to lose focus at some point and you're not going to pay attention to certain things. So all the things that he was throwing in front of us or in the background, you know, we're busy focusing on how much we think Christian is an asshole and how much of a sweetheart Pele is. But really, everything that Pele and the cult is planning, they're playing it right in front of us in the background. And they're telling us like, hey, y'all think Pele is cool, but guess who's gonna be for supper? You know?
Yeah, for real. Seriously. Man, I kept looking at that dancing scene where Danny was going to be chosen as the maid queen. And I just kept being like, I mean, she must feel super tired. It's got to be hot. I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know them people staying, because there's no way, there's no showers. I didn't see none of that. I'm not saying
yeah, they didn't shower. They definitely didn't shower.
Right. So I was like, Danny was like dancing, and she's on, hallucinations. And I'm like, oh, I know she is tired. Like, and she just keeps like, you even see it in her face, like she gets kind of tired, but then she starts like going again because she's excited, because she's being accepted.
The drugs will do that. Drugs will do that. Yeah. Here's another thing. Did y'all ever question what happened to those other people that came to the Hagra in the beginning of the movie?
Other people. Oh, I forgot about them. Dang. Yeah, we
got
just saw them in, like,
sacrificed.
one scene, and then they were like nowhere to be found after.
Yeah, again, and this goes back to the characters not really asking the important questions. None of the characters ask like, "Hey, what happened to those other people that came here?" They got so wrapped up in the drugs and their drama that, again, best, like, this was written real well to make you just like not even see half the shit that was happening. You know, the characters, they just was like, "Oh yeah, we're talking about how much you're an asshole. Oh yeah, you're still in the paper. Oh yeah, you forgot my birthday." But no one is asking like, "Why is that bear in a cage? Where did all those other people that came here go?"
Right.
Oh, this film is so brilliant. Oh gosh, like, oh, another thing too, that I'm digressing, but one thing I noticed at the beginning of the movie, like, you know, when Danny's on her bed, there's this painting of a princess, like with a crown, kissing
Oh yeah,
a
I
bear.
see her.
Did you see that? I was just like, oh, that was another thing I noticed.
Hey, but did you
Yeah,
see
that
the
was
bear
cool.
on fire that Christian was looking at before? I looked at that scene. I was like, "That's gonna be you, buddy."
Hey,
They were telling him what was gonna happen because this was like that chair was faced directly to that bear thing.
Yeah.
Drawing.
For real. Oh, I know he had to be hot, melting in that poor bear that got sacrificed and killed and gutted, because it's like basically how fire works. I mean, you guys know it just melts everything, and like, so all the bear hairs all getting melted, he's just being cooked in there. Oh, it sucks. That's horrible. But I mean, he probably didn't feel shit because of whatever smoke stuff, devil, whatever they come to call it, devil's breath or something.
The yew tree that tells them you're gonna feel no pain. Homeboy felt that pain.
Yeah, he
Sure did.
They even lied to their own people about shit.
Yeah.
They set him up, but then they started going crazy in the end, losing their minds, and what, like, it was
Those people are so far gone as far as like their own consciousness. Those elder people that are just like, they're helping with the manipulation and just doing all like the rituals and everything.
Yeah.
They're really manipulating those people. Like all those people that are following, they're so far gone, and Danny is part of it. Now, let me segue into my last question. Since now we're on to Danny and everything, do you think she survives at the end of this film, or after this film is all over?
No. Yeah, like when
go ahead.
When Walt and I were talking about this, like this idea of even coming up with this podcast, I was just like, either way in this movie, you know, universe, if you just go over there, you're screwed. Like, no, like, you're not coming back alive. You're gonna die either way. It just depends on how long are you gonna survive in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because who knows? Like, Danny could be like getting sacrificed in the fire next. She can get impregnated next because she's the May Queen, and I believe that Maya was the last year's May Queen or something like that. I don't know. I heard that from somewhere, or maybe it's just on my mind. Maybe I thought that. But anyway, regardless. And then, or she could be an elder, like jumping off the cliff. Like, either way, you're gonna die.
She definitely died. And the only reason why I think she died for sure is because none of these people were accepting of any outsiders, and they don't want new anything in their lives like that. Like, this is why they got to sneak pregnant and make people pregnant in the sneaky way, because they're trying to keep it in, whatever the family, so to speak, or get like a guy to, an outsider to get a girl pregnant. And I feel like that's the way that they continue to make their cult last and go on and on and on. But I don't think that they're just willy-nilly accepting the new people. They're like, there's really no new people. Like, and if you look around, like, you could just tell that these people have been around each other for a long time. And I don't think there's any like city people and people who are out, like really like outsiders from different lands and stuff like that still, because again, they were so protective of that book and the secrets and all that stuff. Like,
I think the book is bullshit.
I think so too.
Oh,
because all the kids do is just like putting
Like,
paint on and
mashing
it's like finger painting.
Yeah, I think they're just making up shit, saying stuff. And that's why Josh had that look on his face when he was looking at the book, going over it with the guy, and he was looking at his notes, and he had that look like, okay, this doesn't look right. I need to go over there and take some pictures. Because he was getting close. He was getting close.
Yep.
But I kind of feel you guys.
Blank too.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, okay, like why is this sacred? And then it's like half the book is blank, and the other half is like the Oracle kid finger painting everything.
All right.
I mean, I get it. You know, hey, have the disabled kid because he has an unclouded mind to make shit up. But it's like they're really dependent on everything by a kid.
An incest kid.
Yeah, but going back to Danny, I think she dies too. I think after they pretty much use her up for everything that they can from her, you know, once when the drugs wear off on her, and she starts regaining some level of consciousness about everything, she's gonna be like, damn, all my friends and my boyfriend just got killed and we all just got manipulated. I'm pregnant with some random dude's baby, because I don't think it's gonna be Pele. Honestly speaking, I don't think it's gonna be Pele. It's gonna be Pele with a group of other dudes.
Yeah,
Bang her. That's what's going to happen.
And like I also thought about this too. Like Pele was talking about how his like parents burned in a fire and all that stuff. Like what happens probably in this world is like they bring someone from the outside and they have someone in the village. Like one of his parents was someone from the outside, one of the people was from like the village, and then after the conception happens, they burn the father or whoever in the fire. So I think that's probably what happened, or maybe even both. Who knows?
Well, they probably burned her afterwards. Her name probably got brought up in that little drawing, that little bingo drawing. They're like, all right, it's your turn.
Yeah, they probably got burned alive, like how the sacrifices got burned alive. That's probably how he lost his parents. But I feel like he when they said like, oh, take this is for no fair or whatever, when they're sitting down, I felt like in my mind, I was like, oh, they just gave them the easy way out. They poisoned them in my mind. And when I saw that at first, I was like, oh, they poisoned them and like committed suicide. So it wouldn't be as hard for them to die or whatever, so painful or whatever. But then when I seen the guy like get burnt, like he looked at the guy like, damn, am I really doing this? And then he was like just sitting there like getting burned alive, screaming to death. I was like, oh shit, this is some real stuff. Like he didn't take anything. They just lied, tricking them like Walt said. That's crazy.
Yeah. This movie does a lot of trickery, and it's funny to me again because I feel like a lot of people saw the ending. And it's funny, and this is true facts, because you could look at any media on YouTube and they will say like what they saw was a happy ending. But I read a comment on YouTube and they were like, yeah, so what do you guys think happened to Danny after the fact? And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck does happen to this bitch after the fact? I didn't think about that.
And I read it as a happy ending and a Grimm's fairy tale thing, because I watched this video from The Take, which might have been one of the videos you watched, and they were talking about that and how the structure is almost very fairy tale Grimm's like. But then again, no one talks about what happens after happily ever after. So there's that too.
It was no happily ever after.
Something happened for sure, but I feel like either she might have committed suicide when she realizes what actually happened and something like that. She can't take
she's gonna feel guilty. She killed him. Honestly speaking, do you think he would have did the same to her? Because I don't think he would have did the same to her.
No,
as much as he wanted to break up with her. He would
Yeah, no,
not put her through that.
No, I think because I don't even think that because of the breakup and all that. I think it's just because it seems to me that Christian was a decent person. I just feel like there's certain people when you become like linked up with them or boyfriend, girlfriend linked up with them, some people bring out the best out of each other. Some people bring out the worst out of each other. And I feel like again, they were at this point where they're trying to figure out what the hell they want in each other, like individually, like what they want for each other, like what Christian wants for his life and what Danny wants for her life. So I feel like they were just like this, you know, so I don't think that makes Christian, that should not make Christian the bad guy, you know, and that's why I said I equally blame both Danny and Christian because, you know, speak up, break up, it ain't that hard, bro. Like,
but it's like with the cults, and I feel like most cults do this anyway, they make up their own religion and try and make it seem like they're their own like religious faction and everything. You know, it's like the Hagra is no more better than like the Manson family, you know.
Man, yes.
And like another thing that cults do and a lot is just like the whole family thing. And that's what Pele is doing, is just like your family. And then also with Mark saying like, you guys are my family. And like, they're kind of using that whole, I think Pele also just used all these broken people, choosing them as like his friend group because he knows that. And then it's like, hey, come over here. And now who could survive more? And then he sees Danny and it's like, oh, okay, we're going to keep her.
But did you notice like when they first got there and Pele introduced Danny to like one of the elders, he went to her and was excited that she was there.
Yes.
And Pele, he was excited. He even told her like, I am so glad that you came to this trip, Danny. And all the girls probably in the eyes like, oh my God, he's such a sweetheart. But
I thought he was a creep.
I mean, he's cute, so I understand that, but still, no, he's crazy.
Nah, that dude like is the devil.
Yeah. Like I call you guys my creep squad, but that's not a good part of the creep level at all. Fuck that. That's a very bad creep. Like no, like yeah.
But see, this goes back to me and Dimi's conversation about Twilight and how like all the girls are kind of manipulated into liking this toxic relationship between Edward and Bella and all that. And it's
Jacob,
just, Yep. And it's just like, no, dude, it's like, this is not a stable relationship. Why are people like trying to strive for this?
I agree. Well, Pele
even Jacob at the end too, because I was always a Team Jacob fan, you know, back
in
my Twilight years. But he ended up becoming a creep at the end too, because he's like, well, I don't have Bella, but I have her daughter. It's like,
right, Reneseme's best up next, right? It's like, ew.
No. It's like
a lot of pedophilia in that movie. Like, if you really think about it, it's a lot of pedophilia because Edward's like 3,000 years old. Bella's like 14.
Yeah.
They can kidnapping her daughter and shit. Talking about, I have your daughter, now she's mine. Like, nigga, no.
Like, yo, nasty. But I just feel like, I just feel like Pele had way more power over everybody, but especially over Danny because she allowed him to get that power again, just like Christian. She allowed Christian to have all the power in the relationship, it seemed like, and she didn't really have a stance. But what I feel like too is Pele, again, you just seen him being such a predator. But the reason why I really didn't like Pele is because how you gonna do your boy like that? Like that is everything to me. So from the jump, I'm like, I don't trust you because you're already putting on the moves on this poor girl who just lost her family. So I was like, no, like I was like counting all the things, like I do not fuck with Pele. Something is wrong with him. Like, nah, something's up. So I did not fall for the little blue-eyed sweet boy. Like, fuck all of that. I don't trust you, boy. At the end of the day, you're supposed to be having your friends back. You know, supposedly all the boys back and stuff like that. And you're trying to fuck his woman. Like, nah, I don't. You know, like.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and end the show real quick. Do you have any movie suggestions, Megan?
Oh man, movie suggestions. Midsommar is awesome. I'm trying to think what another movie suggestion is. I don't have a movie suggestion. I have a TV show suggestion, a miniseries suggestion. So I just finished Little Fires Everywhere. That's an amazing Hulu series. It's based off a book. That actually makes me want to read the book. But yeah, it's a great series with Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington. It's amazing. It's not a horror film, but it's like really good.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Dimi? Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, Umbrella season 2, definitely watch that. So good. I have not blogged on it, and eventually I will, because it was so excellent. Talked about the 1960s and like movement and like rights and of Black people, just injustices and stuff like that. It's just like, whoo, mind blowing. They did such a great job, so I definitely recommend that show for sure, for starters.
All right. So if you guys want to follow any of these lovely ladies, you can find Meaganzworld on Instagram and Twitter at Meaganzworld, Meaganzworld. If you want to follow Dimi, it is Black Girls Love Horror on Instagram and Black Girls Love Horror 2. I think it's all like abbreviated, right? Or acronym, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So on Instagram. And of course, y'all can find me, Walter Doom, anywhere, social media, Spotify, Apple Music, just at Walter Doom, Twitter at Walter Doom 1, because someone took Walter Doom's. That is always going to be forever a thing, you guys. So we are going to close out, and this is another episode of Let's Talk About Horror. I am signing out. I almost forgot what I was going to say, but I am signing out. This is America. Don't let them catch you slipping now. Black Lives Matter. Peace.